folks. Max Goldman again. This is what you can expect from communism in America. So the last video that we had, we were talking about the purges being only the beginning or the first phase of the communist regime takeover. And we were saying that in America, this first phase is being run in a very slow kind of a version of what happened in Cuba. In Cuba, it was shock. It was shock and awe, the takeover. But here in America, since most Americans are well armed, they're taking their time with it, so that you will accept the slow pace of the progressive enslavement of your society. Okay, this is the whole thing with the COVID-19 and forcing you to wear a mask. You know, all that stuff. It's just part of the whole scheme, man. It's just part of the whole scheme. And then, your civil liberties and your First Amendment rights are just slowly being weaned away from you, usurped away from you. And they want to do the same with the Second Amendment. They want to do the same with the Bill of Rights completely, with the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. They're very slowly just bleeding you until you accept dominance by these people. But that's the purges are like the very first phase. And then what happens is that they begin to slowly squeeze you with controls. Okay, in Cuba, in my neighborhood, every square block, had what they called el comité, the committee office. And el comité used to watch the movements of all the people who lived in that city block. You couldn't take anything out of your house or take anything into your house without permission from el comité. Okay? They had the right to come into your house anytime they wanted to do an inventory of the things that you had in there to make sure that you didn't have anything in there that you weren't authorized to have. As a matter of fact, all of your food was rationed to you. You had a rationing book. And every week you would go to get your portion of your food for you and your family. And if you happen to have more meat in your icebox or your refrigerator than you had been originally allotted, you would get a 15 to 20 year sentence, because you had more meat than you were supposed to. You think that's a lie, but that's a true story. That's a true story. And that's how it happened back at the beginning of the revolution, and then, so everything was rationed to you. And anything that was in your house was supposed to stay in your house, because in actuality, everything in your house didn't belong to you anymore. It belonged to the state. And you can trade it for something else with a friend of yours or a relative of yours. You couldn't trade anything out unless they gave you permission to trade, okay? So, this whole thing of going out and buying your own groceries and an extra bottle of milk whenever you wanted to, like you do here in America, all these comforts that you have here in America, that you go to the store anytime you want to buy yourself a gallon of milk or a dozen eggs or a loaf of bread or anything you want, that's not how it works under communism. Under communism, you get a ration book. And whatever's on that ration book, that's what you get. And it's not even the best quality. Okay? You don't that food on that ration book is not the best quality, but you have to get used to eating it because there's nothing else. All the best food is being exported out to other countries to buy weapons and petroleum fuel and favors from similar regimes and that kind of thing. Your best raw materials and your best products from your country are being traded away from you, and you only get the crumbs that fall from your new master's table. and it's not even the best quality food. You get the worst end of the stick while your country's being bled to death by a communist regime. That's why I say that Joe Biden isn't the real leader in this country. Kamala Harris is not the real leader in this country. The real leaders haven't shown their face yet. And when they do, if you allow it to get that far, when these people finally show their faces, you know, it's going to be too late for you as citizens of this nation to do anything about it. I'm willing to bet that it's either, President Xi over there from China, or Soros, or Putin. One of those three characters that's running this show. You know? And that's why I'm saying, if you want to fix this problem in America, you need to act now. You need to act now. You know? Because you're going to be a slave just like we were slaves. You know? And let's go on anyway. So all your food is rationed. My father was fired from his military position. You know, he was just kicked out. And then, you know, the thing was that my father was a musician. He was the what do you call it? The person who runs a military band. I forgot what they call that. But he was the drum major, I think they call him, of the military band. And my father was a showman, boy, I tell you. You know that long baton that the military guys, my father could throw that thing up in the air without looking up, and he could catch it in the air, you know. That's how good he was. And my father was asked to play military music for the communist regime. And my father went to them one day and said, you know, you people shot one of my brothers. I'm not going to play music for you. I quit. And he left his military career and had to find some other type of work. I remember my father standing on the street corner. And my father was a robust man, a pretty healthy looking individual, you know. And the last memory of my father that I have in Cuba is a skeleton-looking man standing at a street corner selling nail clippers and helium balloons and Cupid dolls just to try to make some extra money and a few cents extra so he could try to buy something with that stuff. I remember the days that they would bring a contraband pig into the backyard. And they would bust that pig over the head with a baseball bat so that he wouldn't make any noise when they were killing him. And then they would cut that pig up and they would throw the meat over the fence, you know, to people who were waiting there. And that's how they would distribute the meat out. That's what they had to do. To eat, because the government was giving them enough food for only 20 days. And then the rest of the month, you had to fend for yourself, and you had to do what you had to do in order to eat and to feed your kids and your family. Every day at 10 o'clock in the morning, every day, like clockwork, people could set their watch by it. Every day at 10 o'clock, you'd hear the rifles in the distance being discharged, and another 19 or 20 men shot to death every day at 10 o'clock. How would you like to live in an environment like that? Well, you know, let me tell you something. That's what's going to happen in America if you don't do something about what's happening in your country right now.